Hi, Ginger. This is Robert Beeson. I was told to call you at this time for an interview.
Yes, absolutely. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to you because although you're a day late and a dollar short getting this thing together for me, I could have used this about 15 years ago.
Yeah, I hear you. I wish I look back now and I wish I had what we're doing now when I was walking through it. But I think that's the point is, looking back and trying to help those who come behind us.
Yeah, there's no point going through it if you can't help other people that are going through it for
Well
sure.
said. Yeah, exactly.
So, first of all, kind of give people a background and where you're from and how did you come to form the Solo Parent Society?
So I was involved in Christian music in for about 10 years, and I seemingly from the outside I had everything all together, and then the bottom dropped out, and my wife left of 13 years, and I had three daughters, so I ended up raising my three daughters on my own for 8.5 years, and realized just how difficult it can be and how very few resources there are for single parents from any kind of faith-based perspective. So I thought that I needed to do something about that.
That's funny because that's exactly how long I was married.
Hmm.
And I have three kids, although I have two girls and one boy. So I had that one easy kid, and that boy was really easy. No crying, no
Right.
drama. Just as long
Yeah,
as
it's the
he,
drama that gets you. I tell you, that's the difficult thing.
it really is, as long as he was fed, had a house, had internet. I mean, he
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Anyways, this is the oddest thing for me. So I went through this in 2005, and
Hmm.
so what was really strange to me at the time was how much people in the church just acted like I was a leper, or
Yeah.
actually worse, more like I had a scarlet letter on my clothes.
Yeah.
Like it would be easier if I had a drug addiction or if I was an alcoholic, but to
Right.
be divorced, it was like it's one thing to be a widower, or a widow, but to
Yeah.
be divorced, it was like I was tainted, and they wouldn't let me serve in different ministries, just even teaching Sunday school, like because I was divorced.
Well, I think you're exactly right. It's a shame, that the church hasn't been more active in tending to the solo parents. I see, the idea of single parents is so much like it's almost become another norm in our society, and we're forgetting that it is anything but normal. I mean, it is a very, very difficult season. That's why I call it deliberately solo parent season or solo parent society, because single is like a status, solo is a condition. It's a
Yeah,
condition of these homes and these lives that are in desperate need of the church. And statistically, it says the recent statistics are that 67% of single parents don't go to church, and the number one and two reasons are that they feel judged and they feel like they don't belong. And
yeah,
that's just a shame, because I really see this group of people, the solo parents, as the modern day widows and orphans of our society. I mean, they have experienced loss. One of the parents is not there. And it's just a very difficult season. And so, what we're trying to do as Solo Parent Society, as a nonprofit, is get the church, because I do believe at the heart of matters, the church cares about single parents. I just think they don't know what to do, and
yeah,
because it's a difficult thing. I mean, I've heard it said, well, if we get too involved with single parents and we embrace them, then it's like we're condoning divorce. And I don't think there's anything further from the truth. In as much as if a hospital treats malaria, that doesn't mean they condone malaria. They're just
right.
helping the people that are under that condition. And so at the society, we're trying to give tools for churches to reach out to single parents, and then we're trying to enforce or reinforce what is going on with the single parent homes by providing resources and support groups. And it is a season, like you said, that can actually be one of the most transformational seasons of our life. And, we run in Christianity and Christian circles from brokenness. We run as if it's something that we need to fix, but the truth is that I believe that's where God meets us in our most intimate way. He uses our brokenness to reveal himself. And so instead of saying, okay, I'm just going to sit in the penalty box here while I'm going through this divorce and healing, why not be deliberate about that season and start understanding that God calls us to a place of brokenness, of understanding our dependency on Him. And that is a beautiful thing. And so it's a unique opportunity for a single parent to start to understand the intimacy that our Father has for us. Not because of the roles we play or the things that we do or how good how we've behaved, but because He created us. He created us in His image. And so for me, it was that season of my life that really defined what I think is the most important thing to have ever happened to me. And I think that can happen. I know it can happen for other people. We see it in our support groups every week, the transformation that happens when you bring people that are in this broken place together to help each other, to love on each other, to support each other. Something amazing happens. The Holy Spirit works in those situations in ways that I had not seen before.
And it's for me, one of the people that counseled me said, when a parent dies, it's almost like a surgical thing, like
Yeah.
that person is removed. But when you divorce, it's one flesh ripping in two. It's not two solid pieces that just cut down the middle and each go their separate ways. It's a ripping of flesh, and it's
Yeah.
literally some of your fibers are on them, and vice versa. And the thing is it's, and also too, like, there's closure when someone passes away, but when both of them are alive, there's this constant, like, the wound keeps opening, healing. I
Yeah.
think there's this constant journey for the kids and the parents both. And even if those parents never come back together and they even go and get married somewhere else or even stay single forever, those people still need healing as individuals. And so they can become the best, even if their kids are already adults, there's no time limit on when you can become a better parent in
That's
Christ.
right.
And I was abused, and people didn't want to talk about that. And I told my pastor at the time what the statistics were. And I said, if 1 out of 4 women are being battered and you have 2,000 people in your church, then I'm not the only one.
Right.
There's got to be at
It
least
needs to
one
be
or two
addressed.
others. Yeah, there's several. There's, if not a couple hundred.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and I'm not saying that men don't get abused as well, but also children, and in every way, and but being, like you said, like the single parent thing. Now, I was shocked about some statistics, so enlighten people on the effect on kids as far as what happens to the minors.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming and sobering. So many of the social economic issues that we're facing come from single parent homes, and it's because exactly what you said. These single parents, whether it's because a widow or a widower or divorced or never been married, we're not meant to parent alone.
Yeah.
That's not the way God designed it.
Right.
And in some cases, like you said, I agree with you that when you're going through a divorce, there are a lot of similarities between, because we have single parents in our support groups that are both widows and just divorcees, and there are a lot of commonalities. But the one thing that is different is that there is closure when a death occurs, and it's devastating and it's crushing.
Yeah.
But I interviewed this one lady who's way smarter than me, and she said she had been both a widow and a divorcee.
Oh.
And she said the difference that I find is when you're divorced, it's like you're living with the casket in your living room all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't move on.
You never
because
bury
it's
it.
always a part of your life.
Yeah.
And so it's a grueling thing as a parent to have to try to parent alone, and then know that there's this tension of the other parent out there somewhere that creates sometimes chaos. And there's some situations that are better than not, but it's no wonder that the statistics are what they are. 63% of the suicides in the United States, 75% of kids in chemical dependency institutions, 80% of kids that are incarcerated are from single parent homes. And that's a massive amount of our population that comes from 34% of the households in the United States are single parent homes. And so, a third of the group, a third of the households are creating a majority of the issues. That's something we need to pay attention to. And that's why I think as a church, we need to lead the way and say, we need to be the hands and feet of Jesus and reach these modern day widows and orphans with the love and care. And so often, we as a church feel like we need to fix the problem instead of saying, no, we just need to walk with people in this problem, in the situation that they're in, because it is something that they can get through. But the unique brokenness that comes from this solo season is a perfect opportunity for God to meet these parents in a very intimate way. And it's a perfect opportunity for the church to be in a position to facilitate that happening.
You know what? When I see these huge percentages, even when you quoted 90% of runaway and homeless minors are
Yeah.
from single parent homes, and you think 85% of incarcerated, 75% are chemical dependents, and 63% of all suicides are from single parent homes. The thing is if we had a disease where it was killing 63%, 75%, 90% of our minors, then we would be all over having fundraisers and walks, and
Yeah.
we'd be fighting for a cure. But this is just as important as
Yes.
these issues that need healing. We should be rushing to these minors and these parents to find a way to help them. Now you just released a new book called, and I love it. I like you changing it from single parent to solo. And it's called Going Solo: Hope and Healing for the Single Mom or Dad. And it's available now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It came out in April this year from Focus on the Family. Yep.
And so tell people what kind of tools they can get. Obviously the book, but what kind of support they can get from becoming part of the Solo Parent Society.
So, Solo Parent Society, we do three things. We build communities, and I started being deliberate about my life and using the solo season to basically find out what I could learn, and it transformed my life. And so I told some friends about it, and they were single parents as well, and I saw a transformation of their life. And so I started a support group at church, and it was at capacity within the first week. And that all of the stories of transformation in these support groups has been overwhelming. And so I started in this one group, and it was just incredible to me. So I thought, well, what if we could duplicate this around the country? So I wrote some formats for people in other communities to do these Solo Parent Society groups and communities in their churches. And now we're in 13 states. And I started a podcast, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it's grown to 30,000 downloads. And we've not promoted this at all. So the three things that we do are build communities, and you can get involved on our website and figure out how you could start a group or how you can encourage your church to start a group. The second thing we do is we produce resources like the podcasts and like books and ebooks and that kind of thing, to help single parents. Because when I was in that position, there wasn't a lot out there for me to really relate to.
Yeah.
And then the third thing we do, and we're in a beta stage right now, but we provide relief and support. And so one of the things that we're trying really, really hard to do, because there's so much need, is networking churches and local businesses together with single parents and using our nonprofit status to say, listen, if the car is broken, you need some help, let us try to advocate for you and see if there's a dealership or a car place around you that would donate their services to get a tax deduction on your behalf and to help you out, because there are very real needs besides just the emotional, spiritual needs that single parents have. So building communities, developing resources, and bringing relief and support are the three things that we do as a ministry.
What's amazing about what you just said is I unfortunately don't live near this church anymore, but I attended a church for a while when I was single parenting. That what they did is they had a day of the month that they had hairdressers come in, and mothers and dads that were single parents could come in and get their hair cut for free, and then they had daycare to watch the kids, and then they had guys who were just kind of hobby mechanics that they would do oil changes and just regular things like that, or put in a new battery, things that were just maintenance things that they needed done. And they were people in the church that just used what they already knew. And a lot of them, it was like no big deal. People who were hairstylists to take an afternoon and do an hour's worth of hair cutting, like it was no big deal to them. But it was such a huge deal when you're a single parent. I mean, getting to the hairdresser, your hair is like the last thing on your mind. but you feel so much better, and they would give them makeovers, like, help them do their makeup and hair and things like that. And it just really makes a difference. And just show, even for the guys, like showing them if they had like things going on in their house, that they just needed small repairs done, they would do it and help them see how to do it. If this happens
Yeah.
again, here's how to do this. Because all of a sudden, I mean, you feel like you're in an abyss, and you just
Yeah.
think, not only do I have to keep my children alive and try to survive this, but I have actual, like you were saying, there are actual tangible needs that have to be met. And now it's all on me. Like, you know,
Right.
like they may go to the other parents at different times, but when they're with me, I still have this household. I got to keep running all the time, no matter what. Uh,
That's right.
it's a lot. I love that you're doing the relief as well. Do you have a Bible study or textbooks or workbooks for your book?
I don't have a guidebook for the Going Solo book, but we do have for our support groups that we have facilitators guides and then journaling guidebook for people to start the groups, the support groups in their neighborhoods. Yes, there are materials, and that's all available on the website. But we're looking at getting into a Bible study format and even a journaling format. But we just, in our resources, that's the plan right now. To be really honest with you, I mean, we've been doing this for a year and a half. I recently stepped down from my full time job to give myself to this ministry full time, and so we are in the process of trying to find the resources and funding that we need to do all the initiatives that we want to do, because we believe that the need is so great. The further I get into helping people, the more I realize how big this need is, and so we have all kinds of thoughts and belief that we have something to offer for single parents, and we also have something to offer churches that want to reach single parents. And so it's now a matter of God providing the gas in the car to get us to that place. And so that is definitely something on the horizon. We don't have the devotional books, but in my book, Going Solo from Focus on the Family, there are a lot of outlines of actually best practices and things that you can do to actually not just survive in this season, but to actually thrive. And so the next step, I guess, will be creating a devotional or a Bible study book that goes along with that. But we just haven't gotten to that place yet.
And this is such a great thing because it's self marketing. As long as people know it exists, that's all. That's all you
Yeah.
need for them to want to be involved, because the need is so great. And as
Yes.
soon as, and churches I think shy away from it because they don't even know where to start. And
Right.
this gives them at least a guideline, a format to start with. And they can expound on it in their own church and how develop other programs to go with it. But it gives them at least I think it will help them see the need and what kind of incredible ministry. Just think of, with those statistics, how many people they could bring into their church,
Right.
with that 1 in 3 households being parenting alone. Well, that you could have a third more people in your church possibly, that.
Well, that's what's interesting. When we started support group in our church, we have a fairly large church here in Nashville, Tennessee. But we saw, like I said, we were capacity within the first week, but we polled those people, and 30% of the people that came didn't attend the church, and it was never mentioned from the pulpit. And so you want to talk about an outreach. It's an incredible outreach to your community to say to single parents in your community, you belong here. We'll find, we want to embrace you. We want to love on you, not fix you. We just want to make sure that you know that you belong.
Meet you where you're at. This
That's
is your
right.
condition right now, and I think that's the problem, is they feel like they're being judged for wherever they are, but God says they can come exactly how they are.
That's
and
right.
and I think the problem is we have this box, that we say Christians should look like, feel like, what kind of car they drive, 2.5 kids, little house in the suburbs. And so when they say, well, I don't have a house in the suburbs, I'm a single parent, as well as I'm barely making it living in an apartment, and, like struggling working and trying to figure out daycare, like they thought they just can't see where they could possibly fit in. And this immediately says, yes, exactly. Here is a place, not only are you welcome, but there's a place for you and there's a ministry for you to immediately help you and spiritually and physically and mentally. And I think that is such a great need. And like I said, this little just single parent Bible study class for my mom was the reason she got through her parenting, and it helped her, but it helped me too, because like I said, getting those single parents together with the kids, we could all say, man, this is so hard when mom and dad do this, or when this
Right.
happens with dad and this happens with mom, like we could have a support group even within us kids, as young kids. And
Right.
then Bart and I became good friends, and then that's how I ended up in radio and working with Christian artists, is because I followed his, music stuff, and eventually
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Music has this great medium for reaching people when words don't work, or when you just can't do it any other way. Like music has this way of affecting people, because people would come up to him and say, like, I can only imagine, like, I lost my job and that song got me through it. And I'm like, what has that got to do with the job? But
Right.
it
Right.
didn't matter. It reached people. And you think about it, you just track it back, and it was one church saying, I mean, years and years ago, back in like the early 80s, my mom had a ministry that was just a Sunday school class that was devoted to anyone that was a single parent. And
Mm,
and it was that was a huge thing for her, but even for me, I didn't know until later how much I needed it as well. So
yeah.
I commend you. I literally applaud you. Um,
Oh,
I'm so glad that you're one of the few people that has seen it, and because you've been through it, you can see a lot of the things. It's because it's like people say, "Well, I know how you feel." Well, no, you don't. If you
yeah.
haven't went through,
Yeah.
if you haven't, it's kind of. I don't tell people. I've never lost a spouse. I've not lost a parent yet, or like there's.
Mm,
I don't. I tell people I can't even begin to imagine how you feel. But for
yeah.
you, you're able to say, "I get it. I know." I mean, I know our stories may be different, but that struggle, the idea of what, like you said, like that was not God's design for our household. And that family unit that's broken down is the reason our country and our world is broken down. And we
Yeah.
fix that family unit and we heal the hearts and the lives of those people, whether they're all together with their 2.5 kids or they are broken and horribly hurt. No matter what state they're in, if we meet them right where they're at and show them the healing and the love and the forgiveness and the mercy of God that we received when we came to him, that
Right.
that's such an incredible gift. And I'm so excited. So people can go to soloparentsociety.com. It's that easy. And they can find out more information and obviously buy your book, I'm assuming, on the website.
Yep. Yeah. You can buy it on the website or Amazon, anywhere books are sold.
Ah, awesome. Well, I can't, like I said, I can't even, I'm like tripping over my words. You've been one of the coolest people to interview too, because you were like spot on. Like you rattle off everything. You get a lot of meat in a small amount of time. So I like the way you interview.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you today, and I appreciate all the kind words.